Good morning, everybody. All right, welcome, welcome. Let's get started. I am your host, Kenny Goldie. I'm the creator of Debt Reduction Made Easy. I'm so grateful that you joined me here today for a couple of reasons. One, I know it's tough anyway to go hear about some training, some seminar on the internet and take time out of your day to go join that. That's a big leap just on its own. And two, because you're here for the Debt Reduction Made Easy special training, it means you're likely struggling with credit card debt, which means your life has all of those challenges around finances and all the stress of that comes with it. So for both of those reasons that you did make time to come join me here today, I'm very, very grateful. Thank you. I also have a couple of pet peeves when it comes to joining webinars online. I join a lot of them. I'm an executive coach and a corporate communications trainer, and I get a lot of learning. I go online, I join webinars, and I find two things. One, I really don't like it when they try to convince you that it's live when it's not. I've seen those. So if you really are watching this as a replay and you clicked replay, you know you're watching replay. But if you're here with me on Thursday mornings, about 9:18 on my clock right now, I am live. Here's my cell phone. It's Thursday morning, April 24th, 9:18 in the morning. So this is really me here with you. So welcome and thank you for joining me. My other pet peeve when it comes to these kind of trainings is when they don't really deliver any information. I go to a lot of trainings and they say, we know the problem you're having. In this case, it's you're struggling with credit card debt or whatever it is that you're trying to solve in your life. And then for an hour and a half, they just keep telling you that you have this problem and telling them they're going to solve it for you and not really getting into any information on how to solve it. So this is my promise to you for the time that you're spending here with me today. I'm going to give you a ton of information. This presentation is chock full of actual actionable lessons and information that you can use to help yourself in your debt journey right now. And at the end of it, I'm going to tell you about how debt reduction made easy can make that an even faster and easier process for you. But that's my promise to you that you're going to get a ton of information today, and I'm going to jump right in and start giving it to you. So I believe that this statement is true of everything in life, that we always have two choices in whatever path we're going on that hasn't led to the result that we want in it yet. One is to keep doing what we've been doing, that you just keep applying the same way of being and actions that you're taking around the thing that you want to do, and keep doing what you've been doing and kind of hope that it leads to a different result that you have. And the other is to do something else, to try and do something different. And I know we're going to get into a lot of detail today about the ways that people normally approach debt. And if those ways aren't working for you, I'm going to present something to you that is different and new, and that in my experience and that of hundreds of readers and clients has provided really positive results for people getting out of debt quickly and saving a ton of money, that the ways they were working weren't doing it. This redacted letter is an actual real letter from one of my clients. I think it says they're at a $26,438 dollar debt that he was unable to pay, and settled for $9,000, which is about a third. You're going to hear me a lot today saying that a good debt reduction amount is about a third. He got an amazing deal. He got $200 a month for like 4 years and no interest. But these types of deals and others like them are very, very common. So that's an actual real client debt reduction letter. And this is what you're going to learn today. You're going to learn every secret that your bank doesn't want you to know about how to reduce your credit card debt quickly and pay a lot less than you owe. Why don't they want you to know it? Because they're in the business of lending money and having it paid back at full interest and earning interest off the money that they lend. So they don't want you to know that they have the ability for you to pay less to get out of your debt when you're struggling with it, because that's not in their best interest, but it is in your best interest. And these programs, in my experience, you can often get up to 60% off your total debt. Just to be clear on that percentage, that means if somebody owes $10,000 in debt, they pay $3,500 and have $6,500 taken off, up to 65% less. I do share some client stories where they did a little bit more. It is possible. I think my best reduction was 22%, but 35% of the total is about what I see for just about everybody in a reasonable amount of time. And today I'm going to tell you how that can be done. I do want to share this disclaimer up front. I am not a lawyer. I am not a bankruptcy attorney. Debt reduction made easy is based on my personal experiences. I went through this process myself. That is how I learned it. And my client experiences when I started sharing this information, the readers of my books and watchers of my programs and clients that I helped started doing this, and extensive research that I've done into the banking industry and credit and lending. But it is not intended to be a substitute for professional, legal, or financial advice. What I really want you to do is hear everything I tell you today and then go to your bankruptcy attorney, if you have one, or accountant, and share it with them and say, what do you think about what Kenny said? And let them weigh in on it. I am not trying to give you legal advice. I am trying to share real world experience with you. I also do have to say, legally, I have to say this, all client testimonies presented here are the unique experience of those individuals. Of course they are. Everybody who goes through this process is bringing their own personal situation to the process and their own personal way of being to the process. So they're all going to have a different experience through the process, and your results will vary depending on your personal experience and how you apply the material presented in Debt Reduction Made Easy. But I will say this, all the testimonials that you will see here today are true and real videos and emails and letters that I received from real clients who really did go through this process and successfully reduce or eliminate their debt. So who is this for? Right across the top, anyone struggling with credit card debt. If you are struggling with credit card debt, or someone you know or love is struggling with credit card debt, you're in the right place. This is exactly for you. Anyone looking for the fastest, cheapest way to get out of debt. Most people who are in debt and struggling with it are spending money on interest, and maybe they're hitting those late fees, and they're taking money away from things they need to pay in their lives and putting it towards credit card interest, and like, oh, I just want to be out of this debt. But I don't want it to take 20 years paying off my minimum monthly balance. I don't want it to cost me 2 or 3 times as much as my total debt in interest. How do I get out of debt quickly and save as much money as possible? That's for you if you're here today. And if you're not sure, if you're looking for new answers and new solutions and new learning, and you're just curious, like, hey, what is this training? What are these secrets that banks don't want me to know? Just stay and learn. That's all I ask. If you stay through the entire program, I'm going to give you a free gift, big question mark. What's it going to be? Something out of the Debt Reduction Made Easy program for you. And also, when I get to the part where I start talking about the program itself, there's going to be some discounts involved as a thank you for sharing this time with me today. I do want to share one of those clients with you. This is my friend Jerry having this to say about Debt Reduction Made Easy.
If legitimate things happen, crises happen in people's lives, there's a road to follow to get your way out. And you provided a great roadmap for us, which was just tremendous.
What he's really saying is most people don't know the path to take. When I got into debt, it was like a dark tunnel. It was scary. I learned so much that I can turn a light on that tunnel for you and show you the path that you go down so that it is so much easier for you. Jerry and his wife's business went upside down during the market crash time, and they reduced $122,000 in debt to $24,000. So happy for them. Started a family because of it. So how did I become this expert in front of you on do-it-yourself debt reduction? It started in 2007, 2008, around the market crash. I'm a businessman. I had a business venture going on at the time, slightly before the market crash. In the middle of 2007, my business partner passed away, and that left me with a lot of debt that I didn't expect. And then the 2007 subprime mortgage crisis hit, and the economy started to turn upside down. The market crash hit. The business failed. I was left with all of this debt. And like you, I was struggling. I was paying $3,600 a month in minimum monthly payments, and like 90% of that was interest. It wasn't making a dent in the actual debt. And I looked at my finances. I mean, I had maybe 6 months of money to live on before I was going to be destitute and homeless. There was no way that I was going to be able to service that debt the way I intended when my business was running and my partner was alive and the market wasn't in the midst of the crash. And I only thought I had a few options. One option, like we all think when we take out a credit card, is to pay. Just keep paying every month forever. And when that's working, when the business model of your life is working, when the money you make is enough to pay for your life and pay off your credit cards, we want to do that business model. We want to keep our finances and our accounts in good standing. And I thought that was an option. And the other option was to pray, like, is the world going to turn around? Is the economy going to turn around? Am I going to get some miraculous job that pays me 5 times more than I've ever made in order to service this debt? I had well over $200,000 in debt with interest at minimum monthly payments. It would have cost me close to $500,000. Is something going to come out of the sky? Am I going to win the lottery to pay off $500,000 in credit card debt over the next 15 years while still paying for my life? Pay, pray, or run away. To me, bankruptcy was always run away. Just go file bankruptcy, and then you don't have to deal with it anymore. And paying wasn't going to work, and praying in this case didn't seem like it was going to work quickly enough. So I went to visit a bankruptcy attorney. And my bankruptcy attorney said a couple of things that I was surprised to hear. And again, I'm not a bankruptcy attorney. So whatever I say, please go run it by your bankruptcy attorney and validate it. One thing he said is bankruptcy doesn't eliminate debt. I was like, wait, what? I thought bankruptcy was I'm bankrupt, so my debts go away. No, there are various forms of bankruptcy. They call them chapters. I'm not going to quote each chapter. I'm not that kind of an expert. But what he said is the the courts, when you file bankruptcy, and it's a court proceeding, you have to pay a fee. In California at the time that I was thinking about it, it was like $2,500. I don't know if that's the same in every state. I don't know if that's changed in the last 15 or 20 years, but that's what it was for me at the time. You have to pay your attorney their hourly fee to take you through. So there are costs to filing bankruptcy, and the courts want individuals to file a form of bankruptcy that doesn't just eliminate your debt. What it does, and this is his word, he said, is kind of puts you into financial receivership, which means the court is now responsible for your financial life. You turn your entire financial life over to the court, and they look at all of your assets and all of your debts, and they determine what assets they're going to sell, be it your house, your car, whatever it is. You, California at the time, you got to keep a few $1,000s to have a car, or whatever you have. They get to determine what they're going to sell and how much of each one of those assets they're going to use to pay off some portion of your debt to your creditors. So it doesn't eliminate your debt. It just turns your financial life over to the court to attempt to reduce how much you owe to amounts that the creditors will take based on what you actually have. But the court handles that proceeding. And after saying that, he said, or you can try to do that yourself. There's no law that says you need a bankruptcy court to call up your creditor to negotiate a lower payment amount to them. You can call up your own credit card company and say, hey, the financial situation of my life changed. The business model of my life has changed. In my situation, it was the 2008 market crash. Recently, it was COVID, and 40 million people were out of work and turning to credit cards to live their lives. And then after COVID, interest rate hikes and inflation and all of that. And they're going, wait a minute, the model that was working, I had a business or a job that was providing me income that paid my bills, isn't working anymore. And I'm putting money on credit cards to live, and there's not enough coming in. I can't pay you back what I originally borrowed. Can you take less from me? In my experience, every bank I've ever talked to or client has talked to has done that. There may be a few out there that don't. I haven't encountered them, but you don't need the court to do it for you. You can do it for yourself. So I was like guffaw. I mean, nowadays there's radio commercials, television commercials, internet ads. One of the guys from Shark Tank, everywhere they own these debt relief agencies. We're going to talk about debt relief agencies quite a lot today and what they will do for you. If you don't want the court to do it for you, you can have an agency do it for you, or you can do it yourself. None of those commercials existed at the time in 2008. I was left to go, ooh, how do I do this? And I went on the internet to look around. There was no information. I mean, not a single website, not a blog, no information, nothing. So I just started calling my banks and doing it. And I learned as I went. Every phone call I had was new information on how this worked. And over time, it turned out I was pretty good at it. I settled this credit card, $76,000 debt for $25,000. This one I settled for 10. I think it was about a $35,000 credit card. I don't have the amount on there. This one was a $21,000 debt for $7,400. I just went through all of my banks and started negotiating with them. This is how much money I had in my life, and I could file bankruptcy and turn it all over to the court, or I could call my creditors and try and do this better for myself. And in the end, I reduced well over $200,000 in debt to about 70. It took me a while to find and earn that 70 to pay it off, but I did. I saved over $150,000 and I wrote a book about it. I wrote the Do-It-Yourself Bailout, which was the first book I wrote about this. I got it published, and then I started getting newspaper articles and magazine articles and web articles, creditcards.com and AOL, and I was going on podcasts and radio shows and television shows and the news articles and traveling. And this is me on the Spectrum News in the morning here in Los Angeles. This is CBS News actually came to my house and interviewed me about the book, and this was the report they gave.
Kenny Goldie has written a book. It's called the Do-It-Yourself Bailout. And if you are being buried by those finance charges on all your credit cards, this book is a must read.
Which I loved and was so grateful for, because people started reading the book. And when they started reading the book, they started learning everything that I learned. And when they did, they started doing this for themselves as well. And these are all real emails that I have received from clients over the years telling me how they did. This is my friend Nicole in Florida.
Something I'm really learning is like, especially as a woman, it's okay to use your voice. It's okay to be able to say what you legitimately have in your bank account and that you can try to settle this out in a way that is healthy for me, not healthy for the banks, but healthy for me. What will get me back on my feet? What can I actually afford? What can I actually do? And there's what I'm starting to realize is there's more leeway than you think. You have more power in this process. And just by that alone, I would recommend doing this if you're looking to get your power back away from money and these institutions that feel like they can kind of suppress your power, which is, I know that sounds kind of dramatic, but if you really think about it in your own life, what's your relationship to money? You're probably giving your power away to some institution.
I really love what Nicole has to say there because it's true. Banks and lenders, they seem so big and they want us to feel like they're in control and we have no control. And when we feel like we have no control, we get scared and we start to suffer. And then we do things that aren't in our best interest just to stop suffering. And what Nicole learned in going through the program and what my goal really is for you, like before I help you get out of debt, my goal is to help you regain your power around yourself and money and start feeling comfortable and confident in your ability to get yourself out of this situation. So now let's talk about what we're actually talking about. What is debt reduction? What is debt settlement, as they call it in the banking industry? It's negotiating a payment that's less than the total owed that the bank or credit card company treats as full settlement of the debt, releasing the borrower of any future payment obligations, interest, or collection. They're saying, you owe us $10,000, but we are agreeing to take $3,500 as settlement in full, and we're going to close your account and be done with it. And then that it is now you don't owe them that money anymore. Just to be clear, bankruptcy is also debt settlement. It's just the court negotiating the debt settlement for you. So some people, they hear about debt settlement. Oh, what do you mean? I'm calling my bank and offering them less than I owe. And on some level, they think it's wrong. Wait a minute, I borrowed this money. But then they hear about bankruptcy and they're like, oh, I can file bankruptcy. It's the same thing. It's just somebody else doing it for you. I know you have questions. Don't worry. You have questions because I've heard so many of the questions all the time. How much can I save? We talked about it a little bit. We'll talk about it more. How long does it take? We'll talk about that. What happens to my credit score is a big one that a lot of people ask. We are here to, remember I told you I'm going to fill this presentation with information. This is where you start to get all of that information. So how much can I save? Let's look at those numbers. Let's look at that 35% average settlement thing that I talked about. So I'm using $100,000 in credit card debt as a round number because it's easy to do the percentages from that. You may not owe that much. You may owe more. You may owe less. Whatever it is, the same kind of percentage calculation will work for you. If you have $100,000 in credit card debt and a card that's around 24, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9%, like so many are these days, you're likely paying something close to $2,600 a month is your minimum monthly payment. And most of that is interest. You make that $2,600 payment on $100,000 and you still owe $99,000, 300. You don't owe 97,400. Most of it is interest, so it doesn't even really reduce the debt. You can see I just use a regular phone calculator called Easy Calculator. You can find a lot of them. I just entered these numbers into an actual phone calculator. Credit card balance $100,000, interest rate 25%. It told me $2,600 a month payment, and these are the numbers to really look at. It'll take 78 months to pay off this debt. That's 6.5 years of minimum monthly $2,600 payments. And by the time I'm done, I will have paid twice as much as my original debt and interest. I owed $100,000 and I paid $103,000 in interest, which means that $100,000 debt is going to take 6.5 years to pay off and cost $200,000 by the time you do. If you call up your bank and say, this is never going to happen, I am not making that money, my life has changed, I can't do it, and you start to negotiate with them, I believe you will likely find a settlement around 35%. There's no industry standard. Nobody says this is the settlement amount. It's a negotiation. They start higher and it comes down and down and down and down over time. But what I found for me and most of my readers and clients is somewhere in the 30 to 40% payment range, not amount off. That would be a 60 to 70% payment. Somebody in the 30 to 40% settlement amount range in the course of about 6 to 18 months is where you will likely land. Once you do that, you have zero monthly payment. In fact, as soon as you start the process, you are no longer paying the bank that $2,600 a month. That's money that you can use to save for your settlement amount or put back into your life. Instead of 6.5 years, 6 to 18 months to pay off, instead of $100,000 in interest, I put a small amount of interest because when the process starts, they're going to tack interest onto your account for a couple of months, but then that stops as well as you go into the process. And at the end, when you're done, you're going to save not only $65,000 on that $100,000 of debt in principal, but you're also going to save an approximate $100,000 in future interest that you would have paid. Just think about that for a second. At whatever level your debt is, I'll just say $10,000 because it's easy to round the numbers. Instead of paying $20,000 over 6 years, you could pay $3,500 and be done and save $16,500. That's the type of savings that we're talking about. That is a lot of money, even on small amounts of debt. And here's the thing about the process. If you ever want to stop, if you get into it and it's not working, or you do have a windfall, you get a great job, you win the lottery, or you just decide that this isn't for me, you can always start making payments. Again, on every one of the calls, the bank is going to say, hey, what we really want to do is get you back on your monthly payments and get you back current with your account. You can say yes, and all of this stops. You're not forced to go down the road once you start. And you can always file bankruptcy. If you get down the road and go, hey, this is not going the way I want. I was thinking about bankruptcy. I tried this. Now I'm going to file bankruptcy. I'm not even going to say it hasn't cost you anything to do this road first. It hasn't cost you anything to do this road first. When you decide to go into bankruptcy, that's where the court costs and the lawyer costs come. So you're saving all of that going down this road first. So you really, if you are in a situation where you know that your life is not going to be able to service your credit card debt and still have you live your life in a healthy, stable way, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain by attempting this before going down the roads that already aren't necessarily working for you. I went through that journey alone. Like I said, there was no one to talk to, nothing on the internet, no webinars like this with me having somebody say to me, hey, this is what you can expect from this situation. But I want you to know that you are not alone. You are not alone. It is so common for people to be struggling with their finances and their credit card debt and feel alone. And you look around the world, you look at everybody on Facebook talking about how great their life is. You look at everybody at work driving a new car. Let me tell you something. Most of it is people covering up. How do I know that? Because the numbers support it. There is more, I think it's $1.2 trillion in credit card debt in America right now. It was only about 800 million when COVID hit, which means credit card debt in America has gone up by 50% just in the past few years. 1 in 2 Americans are using their credit cards to cover basic living expenses. That's not what they were created for. They were created originally just to be a convenience. I'm out to dinner, and instead of putting down cash or writing a check in the 60s or 70s, I'll put it on my credit card and then pay it tomorrow. And then they became a luxury, all those old MasterCard commercials about priceless, where, hey, here's something that I really can't necessarily afford, but if I use my credit card for it, I can afford this trip and then pay it off over time. They weren't intended to pay your rent and your gas and your electric bill. But we are here with 1 in 2 Americans, 1 out of 2. That's not just poor people. That's not just people working for an hourly wage. That's rich people. That's people with good jobs. That's 1 in 2 Americans using their credit cards to cover basic living expenses. During COVID, 75% of Americans missed credit card payments. We're all kind of taught, oh, you can't miss a credit card payment. That's terrible. 3 out of 4. That means 3 out of 4 people who you work with, 3 out of 4 people on the road driving down next to you, 3 out of 4 people shopping at the supermarket, 3 out of 4 people sitting in an auditorium or a movie theater, 3 out of 4 of your friends missed payments during COVID and still are now that interest rates have been up and inflation has been up. This is very, very common. You are not alone. And I am here to tell you you're not alone. And I want to show you that to help you feel stronger in going through the process. That's what debt reduction made easy is. It's all of the experiences from all of my own and my clients and my readers and everything we went through coming to you to say, this is what we did. This is what we went through. And you are going to see the same thing when you go through it. And when you do, you will recognize it. I can't tell you how many of those emails and letters I showed you were people saying, hey, it happened exactly the way you said it was going to happen. So it didn't scare me when it happened. And I was prepared for it. Here's my friend Mark.
I pulled out all these little fragments of here of, techniques that they're going to use against you. And I wrote down these tiers of they're gonna be nice, they're gonna be friendly, they're gonna get emotional, they're gonna threaten you, all these things, so that when it was happening, I had it right on a piece of paper in front of me on my desk. And I was like, oh, that's where they are right now. And I didn't get like blindsided by it. So I had a lot of, I'll say, administration sort of backing me up, spreadsheets, scripts, all my sort of my anchor datums that I would like rivet in, and kind of built myself a platform on how to really move forward.
That is really what the material is. It's showing you the road. It's that light on the dark tunnel that I talked about. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the top 3 reasons why people stay in debt forever. I know we want to talk about getting out of debt, but we can't talk about getting out of debt until we address the reasons that people won't let themselves get out of debt. That sounds like such a strange thing. They think it's their job and finances and their bank and interest and all of these things that are keeping them in debt. But for most people who are in that situation, the reasons they're not getting out of that situation start within them. The number one reason that people will stay in debt forever is that they are emotional about their debt. They're afraid, and maybe there's some shame or some guilt, there's insecurity, there's anxiety, there's stress, and all of that emotion can be so overwhelming that it paralyzes us to leave us in the options that we think we have, which is to just keep paying. And as long as I pay every month, the world's not going to crumble around me. It's just putting it off from some people. The inevitable crumble is coming. We just think we can keep stitching it up a little bit. Or they pray, or they run away and go file bankruptcy because they were looking to get out of the stress and the fear instead of being confident and courageous. So we're going to talk about how to overcome those emotions to be confident and courageous while you go through the process. They're worried about their credit score going down. This is so very common. We're sort of programmed from birth to be emotionally attached to our credit score. There are literally, I think I once saw a dating website for people with 800 credit scores. Like we have this, we're going to go into a little bit into the programming that we have around keeping our credit score high. We're going to talk about how to use your credit score as a tool to help you get out of debt even more powerfully than one that can help you acquire debt, which is what it's normally for. Or they just don't know about debt settlement. They think bankruptcy is their only option if they're really struggling, or they've maybe heard the radio commercials and seen some of the television or internet ads for it, and they think, well, I guess somebody else has to do this for me because they don't know how to do it themselves. So I'm here to talk about how to get out of the emotion of debt, how to use your credit score in a new way, and teach you about debt settlement so that you feel confident in doing the negotiations so that you can save a ton of money instead of paying somebody else even more money that you don't have to do something for you that you can do yourself, and likely much better than they can. So let's talk about the emotions of debt. I can speak to this. I was there. I was over $200,000 in debt. My house was going through foreclosure. Like it was, my world was caving in. There's fear of being judged by others, fear of being criticized. What if my parents find out that I'm in debt or trying to settle my debt for less than I owe or potentially filing bankruptcy? What if my spouse finds out? I find so many readers come to me and they're like, oh, I think I can do this, but how do I do it without telling my wife or without telling my husband? Because they're afraid of what their spouse will think of them if they find out that their finances are upside down. They've been keeping secrets, and that builds more guilt and shame and embarrassment. When my business venture failed, when my partner died, when I had to let my employees go, when I was struggling to pay back payments to them, when I was struggling to keep my house, and I had a girlfriend at the time who I had broke up with because I just didn't know how to be with her while I was going through all of this shame and fear and stress and anxiety. People think, what do you mean I have to talk to a debt collector? We build up this big Oh my God, terrified image of what debt collectors are. All of these images from like the 1980s of these mean, sweaty guys in rooms yelling at you. Those don't exist anymore. There are laws that make that not exist anymore. But people don't know that. They live in the urban legend of what talking to a debt collector is like, and just the legend of it terrifies them to keep them scared. Insecurity and anxiety, all of this gets in us so much that it overwhelms us and it paralyzes us from actually going to take the steps and do the things that we need to do to get out of credit card debt. So here is a truth, an absolute 100% truth. Your bank treats your debt like a business. That is their business. They are in the business of lending money and having it repaid back at interest in order to make back more money than they lent. And they are very, very good at treating it like a business. They pay a lot of people, a lot of consultants, a lot of money to hone exactly in on how to lend to people who will pay them back at interest and how to collect from people who have stopped doing that. It is a business. One of the things that showed me it was a business is when I had 7 or 8 credit cards all in default at the same time, and I was getting called from collection agents 3, 4, 5 times a day. I started to notice that they were all saying the same thing. This literally the same words. And I'm like, wait a minute, that was a different bank. This is this bank. This is a script. These collect agents are working from a script, likely from a script created by a consultant that different banks hired the same consultant to share with them the same scripts that they had proven through research and action were the scripts that helped them collect money best from people who hadn't become current, who are in default on their credit cards. Like they are treating this like a business. And as long as I am treating it emotionally and they are treating it unemotionally, I am at a disadvantage. Your collection agent is not emotional about collecting your debt. Your bank is not emotional about collecting your debt. There's no right, wrong, oh, please have lenience on me. They don't. It's not that for them. They follow the law mostly. Wells Fargo broke the law a few years ago when it came to opening accounts, but mostly when it comes to debt collection, banks follow the law and they run the numbers. They look at the numbers in the law and no emotion, and that puts them at a very strong advantage to collecting your debt. As Nicole said, these big institutions have power over you. You feel disempowered by them. And the way to feel empowered by them is to stop being emotional about your debt and you also treat it like a business. When I was $200,000 in debt and my business had failed and I had no income, the only way I was going to make money was to pay less money on this credit card than I was owing because that was the only way to get my life out of where it was financially. So this is the solution to problem number one. Be the CEO, the corporation of you. You, whatever your name is, Fred, Dave, Mila, I'm talking to you, me, Kenny. You are the CEO of your life. And your job as the CEO of the corporation of you, you have a fiduciary responsibility to run your finances as best as possible according to the law and the numbers. And right now, your job is to get out of debt as quickly and inexpensively as possible. I give examples in the Debt Reduction Made Easy books and videos about CEOs of real corporations. If the CEO of a real corporation, believe me, right now I'm talking in the midst of all the tariff wars going on. There are companies out there that have had their entire business model turned upside down just in the past 3 weeks. And most of them, retailers, they operate on debt. They borrow from banks to buy product and ship product from overseas. And right now they're looking at losing money on all the product that they're shipping from overseas because all that product just jumped in price, doubled in price due to the tariffs. Any one of those CEOs of those corporations who files bankruptcy to not pay their debts and restructure their company and come through on the other side successfully and save their company is going to be heralded as a hero, as a great CEO who shepherded his or her company through the tariff wars to success by restructuring or settling out or renegotiating debt. They are doing the right thing for their companies by treating their debt like a business. But we as individuals are taught not to do that. We're taught to be emotional about it. So I'm coming to say the way to get out of debt is to be the CEO of the corporation of you and know that your job is to get out of debt as quickly and inexpensively as possible. That is your responsibility to yourself and your family. and the law supports that. When you start defaulting on your credit cards to go down the road of debt settlement, you will get notices in the mail informing you of the laws that give you these rights. Here it says the state, this is California, Rosenthal Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, but I want to point at this one, the federal Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. This is a federal law that applies to every state in the union that limits what debt collectors can do when attempting to collect a debt from you, and gives you rights as a borrower who is in default. Bankruptcy is a law that supports and protects borrowers who are in default. There are laws that protect you, but your bank doesn't want you to use them. They want you to feel emotional and feel like they have power over you and pay your debt at interest, because that's their business model. Your business model is to get out of debt as quickly and inexpensively as possible. Rick went through a divorce, got left with $18,000, had 2 little kids he had to raise. There was no way he was going to put all of that money towards credit cards when he needed to feed and clothe his children. So he settled his $18,000 debt for $3,500. Thomas reduced $47,000 debt to $12,000. Rob reduced $150,000 debt to $33,000. So that's number one reason that people stay in debt for years and pay twice as much as they should, if they even get there before filing bankruptcy, because they're emotional about their debt. And this is me saying it's time to stop being emotional about your debt and learn how to be the CEO of the corporation of you who treats your debt like a business and gets out of debt as quickly and inexpensively as possible by taking advantage of the laws and running the numbers. So now let's talk about those numbers. The number 2 reason people stay in debt forever is they're worried about their credit score going down. Oh my God, we're so terrified. We're terrified. You hear people say, well, I need a new credit card, but I don't want to apply for one, because if I apply for one, it's going to be a hard pull on my credit. It's going to make my credit score down. Like, they won't apply for credit. They won't go buy a car because they're afraid if they go into one dealership and they like a car and the dealer needs to see what their credit is to buy the car, that just pulling the credit will make their score go down, and that will make the car more expensive. We attach our personal identity to credit scores. I am not kidding you. There is a reason why people have an emotional attachment to their credit score, because we have been programmed to have an emotional attachment to our credit scores. Do you remember 20 years ago or something, when one of the websites came out that allowed you to go check your credit score? These websites that said, hey, get your free credit report once a year. You're entitled to check your credit score for free once a year, and this website will do it for you. All of these websites, everybody from freecreditreport.com to what's the big one today? Credit Karma and all of those. They're in the business of selling credit cards. Go sign up for Credit Karma, and you'll see the business model is banks put credit card advertisements on the site. They are in the business of selling credit cards to you and getting a commission on it. And the way that they do that is by giving you an app that shows you your credit score. But when these commercials first started coming out, they literally had this band playing a silly jingle at the Renaissance Fair, singing, if your credit score is low, you will be working at the Renaissance Fair, living in your parents' basement. Nobody will love you. You will be single. You will be a loser. They were telling you, you will be a loser if your credit score is low. Can you imagine any less direct programming telling you to be emotionally attached to your credit score being high? Why? What keeps your credit score high? Paying off your credit cards every month at full interest. That's what keeps your credit score high. And the banks who sponsored these companies want you to keep your credit score high by paying off your credit card every month at full interest. That's the business model. And if that one didn't really convince you of it, did you see this one, where this guy is looking up another company to check his credit score? And here are these 2 big Superman looking guys, muscular young men with their arms back in the Superman pose, 790, 775. And look at that guy. They hired a short, dumpy, bald guy and literally put a horror movie hockey mask on him to paint him as the villain with a 583 credit score. So that particularly addressed to men. Men would see this and go, oh my gosh, if my credit score goes low, that's how my spouse will see me, women will see me, dates will see me, my colleagues will see me, my friends will see me, my parents will see me. I will appear like that to people if my credit score goes low. That is the programming. The commercials I see now recently is a couple living in a basement with ratty furniture and their credit score is low. And it says, just go get an app. Just go get an app to check your credit score. And when you do, suddenly you'll have more credit. And then it literally shows them going up through an elevator to the penthouse where they now live in this big, beautiful penthouse with all this fancy furniture. And they're happy as can be because their credit score got high and now they were able to go pay for a big fancy apartment and all this furniture on credit without ever really addressing whether or not their life could support the money it took to pay off that credit. That is not the app or their sponsor's goal. Their app and their sponsor's goal is to make you feel like a better person and that there will be more value in your life if your credit score is high. So this is what I want to say about that. Your credit score is a tool and it has more than one use. The number one use of a credit score that most people think about is to get you access to more credit at a lower interest rate. If I have an 800 score, I can get more cards with higher limits on them at a lower interest rate. If I'm going to get a car, I can get a car at a more expensive car at a lower interest rate. That is the number one use of your credit score. They also maybe a landlord will pull it for renters, or sometimes an employee will pull it. There are a couple other adjacent uses, but that is the number one use of your credit score to get you access to more credit at a lower interest rate. But if you're not using it for that, most of my readers, clients, people attending these seminars are not out there trying to get more credit at lower interest rates. They're just trying to pay off their maxed out cards. So if you're not looking to buy a house right now, if you already own your house, or if you know your finances are in such a situation that buying a house right now is not an option, or you're not looking to buy a car on credit, you're not looking to take out a business loan or a student loan, which are the major things that people do on credit, then you're not using your credit score for that tool that it's intended. Why not use it another way? When you think about it, the reason you want a high credit score is to save you money when you take out loans. If I'm going to go buy a car and I get it at a lower interest rate, it means I'm going to pay less interest on that car. You want a high credit score so that when you take out loans, it costs you less to save you money. If you have a lower interest rate, or sorry, a higher interest rate, it's going to cost you more money. But if you can use your credit score in a way that saves you even more money in a different way, you're just putting it to use in a different way. So let's look at this situation again. Your credit score is a tool, $100,000 in credit card debt, $2,600 a month in payments, 6.5 years to pay it off. You're going to pay $200,000 total payment after those 6.5 years. It's going to cost you $100,000 in interest, but you'll still have an 800 credit score when it's done. What else will you have? Well, for those whole 6.5 years, you're going to be exactly where you are right now. You're going to be struggling and stressed unless you win the lottery or get some gigantic job to pay it all off. If you really do spend those years just paying that minimum monthly payment every month, taking all of that money out of your life, not putting it towards where you live or your lifestyle or your kids or clothing or food, putting it all into your credit cards, you're going to be struggling for all of that time. And at the end of it, you're going to get to pat yourself on the back and say, I feel good, emotional attachment, to paying off my full debt, 200 interest, $200,000, and still having an 800 credit score. Or if you went down this road that we already talked about, approximately pay $35,000, save $100,000 in interest along the way, be debt free on that account in 6 to 18 months, have all of the relief of being debt free and having all of that done with and not putting that $2,600 a month into the credit card, but putting it into your life, you'll have a 500 credit score. So you have now used 300 points of credit score, of FICO score, in order to save $165,000 and be debt free in a year to a year and a half and relieved of all those painful emotions instead of keeping those 300 points in FICO score and paying an extra $165,000. This is just looking at the numbers and stress-free now. Your life is enjoyable again. You've paid off your debt to your bank. They have considered it paid in full and you are living your life open. So then people say to me, well, if I do that, what's it going to cost me? Like, what's the downside? So I say, okay, let's actually look at a car. Say you want to buy a $25,000 car. I ran the numbers side by side. If you have your 800 credit score and you take out a $25,000 car loan at 60 months at an interest rate of 5, please don't hold me accountable on what interest rates are. Right now, they vary often. What I'm showing is the gap in interest rates between a low credit score and a high credit score. That gap will exist no matter what the actual number is. So I ran it at, you can get a 5% car loan right now with an 800 credit score, $25,000 loan, you're going to pay $471 a month. And at the end of your 5-year car loan, you're going to pay $3,300 in interest. And that $25,000 car is going to cost you $28,300. And you will have paid off $165,000 on your $100,000 debt. Sorry, you will have paid off $200,000 on your $100,000 debt and maintained your 800 credit score or whatever your debt is. Or if you reduce that debt, if you settle it in 6 to 18 months and your FICO score does drop to 500, and then you want to buy a car and you buy that same $25,000 car, which you might actually now be able to afford because you're not putting $2,600 a month into your credit card, and you get a same 60-month loan and it costs 9% in interest, right? Your interest is higher because of your lower credit score. Maybe that's 11 in the real world right now, but I'm just showing the comparison between 5 and 9. That $25,000 car is going to cost you $518 a month, which means it's going to cost you $50 a month more at 9% instead of 5% to buy that car. And at the end of 5 years, you're going to pay $6,000 in interest, which means that $25,000 car will cost you $31,000 instead of $28,000. You're going to pay an extra $3,000 a month in interest on a $25,000 car with a 500 credit score instead of an 800 credit score. But you will have saved $100,000 in interest and $65,000 in principal on your $100,000 credit card debt. Or if you only have a $10,000 credit card debt, you will have saved $10,000 in interest and $6,500 in principal. So you're saying I can save $16,500 in principal and interest on my credit card and be debt-free in 12 to 18 months and stress-free and living my life and have the monthly payment of $500 or $600 that I'm currently putting in my credit card to actually put into my car. And at the end of that, saving $16,500, it will cost me an extra $3,000. You can use your credit score as a tool to save you a ton of money beyond the use that your bank wants you to use it for, which is to just save money because you're paying less interest. When you only look at the numbers and what is legal, this is the question. What would the CEO of the corporation of you do? If you have a fiduciary responsibility to yourself and your family to get out of credit card debt as quickly as possible and as inexpensively as possible so you can put the money that your corporation earns into your business, which is your life, what would the CEO of that corporation do? Pay off that credit card for 6.5 years at full interest and pay double the amount borrowed at full interest to maintain a high credit score, or allow their credit score to fall by negotiating a lower payment, a settlement amount that saves up to 65% in principal and 100% in interest and has a lower credit score, and then pays a little bit more later on the loan that they're going to take. I can tell you what the CEO of a corporation would do. And then some people would say, well, what if I want to buy a house? Well, the same thing applies. You're just still running the numbers. So if you're in $10,000 in credit card debt and you want to buy a house in a few years, I would say, if you can, pay off your credit card debt and keep your credit score high because you're going to buy a house and the numbers are not going to support the settlement when you buy a house. If you're $222,000 in credit card debt like I was, and in the next 10 to 12 years, it's going to cost me $500,000 in payments and interest, and I'm going to struggle forever and be upside down forever, and I want to buy a house, paying off that debt for $70,000 and saving $430,000. And then by the time I go buy a house, paying whatever highest interest rate I am, if the cost of the interest is still less than what I paid and I've turned my life around, it might be worthwhile. It's always about the numbers and running it as you. You just need to look at the numbers and see what makes sense. I don't say to anybody, you should settle your credit card debt. I say to everybody, you should treat it like a business, let go of the emotion, run the numbers, and do what is best for you and your life and your family. Stephen eliminated $50,000 in credit card debt. This couple saved $120,000 off their credit card debt and put their lives back together. Their business fell apart. Here's Mark again.
Go through your book, and yeah, there's certain things that I have, highlighted in here and starred and notes on them and stuff, because I didn't have enough stability to know what I could do and what was possible. And without knowing the what was possible, I would have compromised on something a lot less.
So I want to take a little break. I know it's sitting around for 45 minutes now, hearing what I have to say. People need a little bio break, a little food break, go digest this information a little bit. The reason I put the break here is because when you come back, I want to tell you how you can really do this. Most people don't do it because they don't know about it or they think they can't do it themselves, and they're going to go hire an agency. And when you come back, we're going to talk about how agencies, how debt relief agencies that you see commercials for, they do not work for you. Their commercials say they work for you. They say they're performing a great service for you, but they are a business and they are in business for themselves. So take a little break, take a little stretch, get some water, refill your coffee, take a bio break, come on back, and let's learn how you can be the CEO of the corporation of you to save yourself even more money, a lot more money than these agencies they say they can do for you. I'll see you in a couple minutes. Okay, welcome back. You had a little stretch, get some water, get a little coffee refill, and come on back. We're going to learn how you can be the CEO of the corporation of you who saves your life so much more money than these companies out there who say they will do it for you. Have you seen their ads? There are so many of them. I don't even want to repeat all of their names, but you've seen their ads. If you've clicked on one in TikTok or your Facebook stream or on YouTube, you then get bombarded by all of them. I've heard them on the radio. They say there are secret government programs that banks and credit card companies don't want you to know about. It is true that there are secrets that the banks and credit card companies don't want you to know about. I share all of those secrets in Debt Reduction Made Easy, but there are no secret government programs. I don't know how they get along actually making those ads because they're just not true. There are government programs that help homeowners struggling with their mortgage get their mortgage refinanced, but there are no government programs that will help you settle credit card debt. They just don't exist. It is a lie. And then they say, call to see if you qualify. I even clipped one of their ads. See if you qualify for debt relief. Let me tell you, the only qualification for them is that you have enough debt to make it worth their time to take you on as a client to make money off of you. There's no qualification from the bank. They're not calling up the bank saying, well, the bank won't settle with you unless you meet these qualifications. This is just them. Most of them say you have to have a minimum debt of $10,000 because if you only have $1,000 and they're only going to make $2,500 or $250 off you, it's not worth their time. The only qualification is you are so much in debt that they can make enough money off you. Let me tell you, there are no secret government programs. It's legal to settle debt. That's it. You qualify. You qualify. If you're struggling with credit card debt, you qualify to go call your banks and negotiate a settlement. If you want to reduce or eliminate your credit card debt, if you want to be free of the negative emotions of debt, I am telling you, you qualify. Agencies want you to think that they have access to something special that you don't have, that they have some special relationship with the banks that allow them to get through the red tape faster and get settlements easier. They don't. They want to make it sound like what they do is scarce and hard and you can't do it. It's not true. Why do they want to make you feel these things? So that you will pay them a lot of money to do it for you. How much money do they make? About 25%, usually between 15 and 25%, about 20% of your total debt. Don't take my word for it. Go look at their ads. This is one of their ads. Clients who make all monthly program payments, meaning you are sending money to them every month in order to build up a fund to then settle out the 35% or 50%, not 35% with them, you'll see in a moment, 50% that they'll settle your debt at. You're sending that to them every month. And when you do that enough, they're telling you you can save 40 or 50% of your total debt. Means if we go back to that $100,000 number, I'm telling you you can settle for about 35%. They're telling you you will save about 40 to 50%, which is a 50 to 60% settlement amount. I know that sounds a little bit confusing. I'm sorry about that. They're talking about how much you're going to save off 100,000, 40 to 50%. I'm talking about the settlement amount. You're going to pay 35%. They're saying an average savings of 43%, which means an average payment of 57% upon successful program before fees, and that you pay 14 to 25% of the total debt. Meaning if you have $100,000 in debt, you're going to pay them 25%, $25,000 of your total debt in order to have them settle your debt at 57%. I know that's a lot of numbers, but what it basically means is they are not incentivized to settle your debt for less because they get paid on the total amount of debt that you enroll in their program, not how much they save you. I think it would be great if they took 25% of how much they saved you. They would be incentivized to save you more, but they're not incentivized to save you more. They're incentivized to close your account as quickly as possible, which means they're going to have you settle for less than you could actually get on your own so that they can do it more quickly and make their fee on your total debt more quickly. Here's one that says you can expect, please know, where clients who are able to stay with the program and get all of their debt settled realize approximately 46% savings before fees, which means a settlement amount of about 54%, or 25% including our fees, which means that by the time they tack their fees on top of what you're paying to the bank, you're only saving 25% of your total debt. Mostly, a bank will come to a 50% settlement in about 3 to 6 months. It's easy for them to say, here's a 50 to 60% settlement in 3 to 6 months, which means the agency is going to tell you, they just told you in those excerpts from their actual ads that I showed you, they're going to say you can expect a 50 to 60% settlement. And when you get it, we want you to take it. This is the best we can do. I know those numbers were a little confusing between settlement amount and payment amount, so I want to make it really clear. If you're using an agency and you have $100,000 in debt and you settle at 50%, you pay $50,000 to the bank, you pay about 20%, $20,000 on a $100,000 debt to the agency, which means you've paid $70,000 and you've done that in 3 to 6 months. I don't know about you, but when I was $220,000 in debt, I didn't have 70,000 for every 100. I didn't have $160,000 to pay off my debt. I had one bill card that was $76,000. The agency wanted to settle it for $65,000. I didn't have the $65,000. When you are the CEO of Corporation View and your best interest is to save as much money as possible, and you have the time in your life to put into it because you're not trying to close the account as quickly as possible, you're trying to save as much money as possible, and you settle that $100,000 debt for 35%, you pay the bank $35,000, you pay zero to an agency, which means your total payment is $35,000 instead of $70,000. You save twice as much money as the agency. It takes longer, but during that time, you have taken yourself through the process. You have empowered yourself to get through your own situation. You haven't turned your financial life over to the court through bankruptcy. You haven't turned your financial life over to an agency. If you go on some of these agency websites or on Facebook where people place comments, most of the comments, not their ads, the comments will say, I call them and they never call me back. I'm always calling them saying, what's going on and who are you talking to? And I'm not getting response from them because they are in charge instead of you. When you are in charge, you know exactly what is going on with every bank, exactly what offer you are at, exactly what your next negotiating stage is at, and you know what your target is. You can save twice as much money, and this is just twice as much money on the principal settlement. You also have all that money that you save in interest that you're not paying additional fees to bite into because you're paying the agency so much money.
You just gave me so much more confidence. Like, you just gave me a peace of mind, realized that this is a strategy.
This is a strategy. I met with a bankruptcy attorney who said bankruptcy is a strategy. So the strategy, the solution to problem number 3 that people stay in debt forever is that they just don't know about debt settlement, is to learn debt settlement. And that's what Debt Reduction Made Easy is for. It's to tell you what your agencies, the people that want you to pay them to do this for you, are doing. I'm going to tell you everything they're saying they're doing for you that you can't do, so that even if you choose to use an agency, you know what they're doing and you're able to hold them accountable to it. See, I didn't have time to do this and it's worth my money to have somebody else do it for me. You're not in the dark while they're doing it. You know what questions to ask them. Even if you choose to go talk to a bankruptcy attorney, you know what questions to ask. You can compare bankruptcy and using an agency and doing it yourself because you will be knowledgeable. Again, treating it like the CEO of a corporation. Get all the knowledge and information you have to make your job of getting out of debt easier and quicker and less expensive. Now, I'm psychic. I know what you may be thinking because I've done this for so many people and heard all of their questions. You may be thinking, I don't know how to negotiate. Don't worry, I will teach you. It is in there. There are videos on negotiations. You heard Mark say earlier, hey, I was looking at it and it's all the things that the bank will do. I know their scripts. I know what they're going to say. I tell you what to say back. I tell you where to start negotiating. I tell you what pitfalls to look for. I tell you when they're going to use what I call enticements, which is they're going to be nice to you to try and get you to start making payments again, to see that for what it is. I tell you when they're going to use what I call intimidations, which means they're not going to be so nice to you. They're not going to scream and yell at you, but they're going to say things intended to scare you. I'm going to tell you what those are so that you know to look for them so that they don't affect you. You may be thinking, I don't have enough money to make a settlement payment. Even if I use a $10,000 debt and it's going to cost me $3,500 to settle, I don't have the $3,500. That may be true. You may not, but you're paying the bank interest every month that you likely don't have money for either. And when you do, you will have paid $20,000 on that $10,000 debt. So at a certain point, you have to choose to do something different to come to a different result. And I am going to show you, there's a whole video in the program about how to find the money in your life to make those settlement payments. That's probably right in front of you. We just don't see it because we're so caught up in the emotion of the debt that we don't see what's available to us. I heard you can get sued. Yes, one of the tools in a bank's toolbox is to sue borrowers who are delinquent on their credit card payments. I got sued twice. Let me tell you, both of those I settled for much less than I owed before ever going to court. And I will tell you this, I have had some clients get sued. No one has ever gone to court. No one has ever gone to judgment because Debt Reduction Made Easy shows you how to settle before you even go to court. All the information that you need on how to get a bankruptcy attorney or an attorney to handle you when you've been sued and respond properly and continue negotiating is in the course. Will this work if I'm married? Yes, I've heard almost everything I can hear. I co-signed for my spouse's credit card. How does that affect us? This debt's from before our marriage. How does that affect it? It works if you're married. Business debt, I put the question mark there. If you are truly a corporation, if you were hired to be the CEO of a corporation and the debt is truly only the corporation, this is not the process you will go through. There are other ways to talk to your bank about actual corporate debt. But if you are an individual who took out a loan for your business, you likely signed a personal guarantee, which means your bank does not look at your debt as business debt. It is a personal guarantee that you used for your business, but they are not saying, oh, the business went out of business, therefore you don't owe us the debt anymore. It doesn't matter if your business went out of business. If you signed a personal guarantee, they're still coming after you for the debt, which means it's personal debt. Will my particular bank do this? I have yet to see a bank that wouldn't. Now, there are thousands of banks in America, and I can't tell you for sure if some local bank in a small region just says we don't do it. But all the major banks that you can rattle off the names of, my clients have worked with. And while I didn't work with all of them directly, I worked with 8 of the biggest names that you can think of. And other clients have been with the other biggest names that you can think of. And I've had so many people come to me and say, this bank says they don't do it. I just got on. They say they absolutely don't do it. And I would say, just keep going through the process. And lo and behold, they'd send me a text 3 or 4 months later saying, hey, they just offered me a settlement that they said they never would. And then they'll say they never go below this amount. And then a little while later, they go below the amount. I am telling you, every bank that I and all of my clients have gone through this process with have all gone through the process the same way. Might your bank be unique? It might be. I have yet to see it. It is all in there. Debt Reduction Made Easy takes you through every step of how to go through this process on your own and settle your debt far quicker than paying it off at minimum monthly interest, not filing bankruptcy, not paying a ton of money to an agency, how you can do it yourself. Here's Jerry.
As soon as you stop making the payments, then the phone calls start. You get a letter, started getting the letters first from the actual creditors. And then later when they flipped them over to a collection agency, without your book and information, I wouldn't have known how to deal with them. What terminology to use, what things to ask for, what actions to take. So that book was so practical, and it just gave me the tools.
It's all in there. I tell you, I really want to help you. I've been doing this work for 15 years. Nicole is going to come up a little while and tell you it's a labor of love. It really is. I do this because of my friends and readers and clients and people who go through the course and come to me and say, you saved my life. You saved my marriage. You saved my family. Jerry went through a particular situation where he and his wife wanted to adopt a child, and they were weighing whether or not to pay off their $120,000 in credit card debt or adopt a child. And they chose to settle out their credit card debt. I think I put it up there, it was like $24,000. And with the money they were no longer putting towards credit card, they adopted a child who is now a 15-year-old teenager. They have a family because they went through debt reduction instead of paying off their debt in full forever and stressing about it. Debt reduction, I'm not kidding you, it saves lives, and I really want to help you. And if you've stayed this long, stay a few more minutes. We're almost done where I want to show you how I can. Here's Nicole talking about the course itself.
He has this beautiful course. First, I have to tell you how grateful I am for that course. So he has this beautiful video course that he kind of walks you through it. And Kenny, you're great on camera. The way that you encourage, it's practical. It also speaks to emotional and mental health. I found it extremely complete. Like, it was really comprehensive.
I'm so grateful she had those views of the course. I worked very hard on it. I'm going to take you through what the modules are in a moment, but the course is basically me. Look, I'm even wearing the same glasses. It's me on camera. Same color sweater. How do you like that? It's me on camera with a bunch of deck cards behind me, showing you all of the information, taking you through each phase myself so that you learn it all from me directly. What you're going to get on a high level in the course, as I started off with, is every secret that banks and debt settlement agencies don't want you to know about settling credit card debt for less than you owe. You're also going to get a debt-free life. The purpose of this is for you to eliminate your credit card debt so you're not in debt anymore, so that you have all of the money that you're putting towards your credit cards towards your life, so that you're paying you're covering those utility bills that you were putting on credit card. You're putting your kids through school, clothes and food, and yes, even some entertainment, and have some fun. You deserve to have fun in your life. And you can do that when you use the law to your favor and treat your debt as the CEO of the corporation of you, and find a different way out. And it's going to give you courage and confidence that transcend finances. So this is the number one thing I learned going through this process myself. Had I turned it over to the bank and gone through bankruptcy and I was out of debt, I would still have the same emotional relationship to money that brought on fear and doubt and shame. And that would have still been with me as I went to rebuild my life. But because I went, and the same if you turn it over to an agency, they're going to do it, which means you're just out of control the whole time. But because I learned how to let go of the emotion of debt first and treat it like a business, I healed my own emotional relationship to money so that by the time I was out of debt, I had an entirely different perspective on how I relate to money. And that's what allowed me to go build my financial future. Again, if you get out of debt, but you're still treating money the same way, the chances are you're going to get in debt again. Numbers prove that that is true. People will just keep living their life that doesn't pay them enough money and keep paying more on credit card. And then 5 years later, they're in the same spot, maybe filing bankruptcy that time because they haven't learned how to be more emotionally empowered around life. The course, the process empowers you to be courageous and confident about yourself and your relationship with money to go build financial wealth when you have eliminated your debt. And stay tuned. I'm about to take you through the prices of the course. And I want you to stay tuned because I remember I said there's that surprise discount. So the original prices that I show you are not the prices of the course. They're the prices that I started off charging. When I started making all of the videos that have now comprised the course, I was providing them independently, individually to my readers and clients. And this is what they were paying when they came out one by one. There's a whole 2 videos on the 6 ways to get out of debt. I go into depth on bankruptcy and agencies and all of that. They were $150 a piece. The top 5 fears of debt settlement. There's 2 videos on that. I go into more depth about your credit cards and everything. That was the price when they first came out. There's a whole video on how to let go of the emotions and this thing I do called Get Clear on Your Fear, where you really dig down to what am I actually afraid of? Is it judgment, criticism? Whose criticism? Where will I wind up? We dig all of that, root it out to get rid of it. I take you through the accounting, how you really go through your numbers like an accountant to treat it with the specificity that you need to apply those numbers when you start to negotiate. I take you through the strategies of negotiation. There's 2 videos on that. I take you through the whole history of banking and where credit cards came from. And I take you through the history of how banks have maintained laws in their favor that disfavor you when it comes to lending. For instance, there is still no law in the United States that caps how much interest a bank can charge on a loan. Feels like there should be, like, hey, this is the most a bank can charge. But consistently for 50 years, banks have gone to Congress and said, we don't want laws to cap us. Borrower rights groups have gone and tried to have laws passed for a national interest rate cap until the Supreme Court of the United States said, nope, there's not going to be an interest rate cap. And there still isn't. There's some laws that pass around how much fees they can charge and all that. It's all minor compared to interest rate. The only thing that caps interest rates is markets. If a bank came out and said we're charging 75%, they can. You're just probably not going to take that card. The reason all the cards are between 25 and 40% is because people keep taking cards at 25 and 40%. I guarantee you this. If every borrower in America right now cut up your credit card that's at 25 or 40%, cancel your account, 50 million Americans canceled their credit card account. And the bank said, here's a new card at 30%. And they all said no. Here's a new card at 20%. And they all said no. Here's a new card at 10%. And they all said no. Here's a new card at 5%. And people started saying yes. Credit cards would be at 5%. Market conditions are the only thing that guide credit card interest. And we keep taking cards that charge us more. So banks keep charging more. I take you through the history of all of that. I take you through all those intimidations that debt collectors use that I mentioned. I take you through all the negotiating, what to say and when, all the scripts, it's all in there. I take you through lawsuits, it's all in there. I take you through settlement agreements, what you need in those documents that I showed you mine of at the beginning of this session. I take you through how to make your payments to protect you. I take you through repairing your credit when it's over. I take you through tax implications. We go through all of it. If you were to add up what all of the videos individually cost, it's over a $2,500 value. Remember, that surprise discount is coming. I've written 2 books, the Do-It-Yourself Bailout and the Debt Settlement Easy Business Plan. I include both of those books in the course. I have this thing called the debt negotiation spreadsheet. I'm very, very proud of it. It helps you in your accounting, where instead of having to go on a calculator, you just put in what's my income, what are my debts, what is all the things I'm paying on, what are my monthly payments, and it targets what your settlement amounts are for you. I spent 2 weeks learning Excel with all the background calculations so that you don't have to. I have a workbook. All of the worksheets that are in the course are in this workbook for you to go through. All of that is included. So when you add the videos and the books and the workbooks, it's over a $2,600 $100 value, but that's not what you're going to pay because you're not getting them all in piecemeal. I've put it together into a package so that all of these have been reduced, and I've come up with a couple of different options for you in the package. One option is only to purchase the video course on its own, just self-guide it, go to the video course on its own. I've had many, many clients go through the video course on their own and settle out massive amounts of debt. And the other is this online monthly mentoring subscription, where in addition to the videos, you get to get on a call once a month with me or one of my debt reduction made easy coaches and ask questions and share wins and hear surprises and hear what other people's experiences are and get that anchor point. So you're not doing it on your totally on your own. You get to come once a month and be on a call to help you through the process. If you go the route of the videos, you get the videos, the workbooks, the spreadsheets, the books, lifetime access. This is not a subscription. It shows up in a membership area. When you subscribe, you get a membership area, and all the videos and workbooks are everything up in the membership area, which you have access to forever. Normal value, we saw over $2,600. The package price, again, there's a surprise discount coming for being here with me today, but the package price after this initial introduction will be $797 just to get the lifetime access to the video and all of the materials. And then if you go for the mentoring, you get all of that, everything that's included in the videos, but you also get that once a month live group mentoring call. The total value for that would be the cost of all the videos plus my normal cost as an executive coach. I charge $750 an hour. So you get that on a monthly basis, but packaged together, I'm giving you a discount. If you get the monthly mentoring, the future price will be half off the video course, $398 for the video course instead of $797, and $197 for that coaching call each month. But here's your surprise discount. Because you joined me today, because you took time out of your life for a little more than an hour now to come sit with me and let me share with you all the tips and tools and secrets of debt reduction, I'm going to take another half off of that, which means if you choose to just get the video course today, it's a $398 one-time payment for the entire video course forever to take yourself through as much as you need to go through the process on your own. And if you've already done the calculation in your head of how much debt you have and what you would save in principal at about 35% payment and what you would save in interest, I can almost get at the minimum credit card balance. If it were $1,000, not that you're going to settle out $1,000 credit card, but if you were $1,000 in debt and you paid $350 and saved $650 and another $1,000 in interest, you'd save $1,650. You would 4x your investment on a $400 video course. I don't think anybody's going through debt settlement because they're $1,000 in debt. I hope not. But if it's $10,000, you're going to 40x your investment on a $400 video course. So it's really, it's nothing compared to the interest that you're going to pay on your credit card if you just keep going down the same road you're on. And if you jump into the monthly subscription, I'm going to take another half off of that. So it's only $200 for the video course and only $98 a month. And again, I think you're going to be out of debt in about 18 months, which means the total is going to be about $2,000, 18 months at $100 and $200 for the video course, $1,800 or $2,000. What is that compared to the amount that you're going to save? So if you have sat with me for about an hour and 15 minutes now, and you know this is for you, like you're like, pay, pray, run away is not going to work for me anymore. I cannot pay my debt off in full. I cannot keep paying my minimum monthly payment. I do not have enough money to go hire a bankruptcy attorney and file bankruptcy, and I don't want to turn my financial life over to the court. I don't want to hire an agency and pay them another 25% of my debt to do this for me. I am ready to invest in myself to learn how to do this myself and give it a shot. Remember I said you have nothing to lose. If you give it a shot and it doesn't work, you can always get back on regular payments with your bank or file bankruptcy. If you know you're ready to start, go to debtreductionmadeeasy.com/get started. Go there now, open up another browser window. Don't do it in your Zoom window. Open up another browser window, go there, go to debtreductionmadeeasy.com/get started. You'll see one page where you enter your name and your email address and hit submit. So I know who you are and where to send your materials and your login information when you have subscribed. And then you'll see an option there, a little radio button, either for the video course or the subscription offer. You'll see the $7.97 and $3.98 prices to begin with, but then type in this code training special 50, the number there, training special 50, and you will see that drop in half to the $3.98 for your video or $1.98 for the video and $98 a month. If you know you're ready to go to debtreductionmadeeasy.com/get started now and get started so that you can start getting out of debt as quickly as possible. I want to ask you, if you get into this course and all it does is save you the minimum amount on, let's call it the minimum balance. I'm gonna use the balance that the debt relief agencies say is their minimum balance to work with you. You have to have at least $10,000 in debt to work with an agency. So let's say you have $10,000 in debt and you're going to save $6,500 in principal and $10,000 in future interest, $16,500. Is that worth investing $198 for the video course and $98 a month to you? And then multiply that by how much debt you have, whatever it is, if it's 15, 25, 50, $100,000, the tens of $1,000s that you will save for the investment of $200 for the video course and $100 a month to learn how to do this is settling your debt to save 65% off the balance, 100% in future interest, and be debt-free in 6 to 18 months, worth this small investment in yourself. Like I say, if you take 18 months in the program, it's going to cost you less than 4 hours with a bankruptcy attorney. If you sat down with a bankruptcy attorney at $500 an hour, in 4 hours, you will have spent $2,000, which is about the total amount you'll spend in 18 months in the program. And I guarantee you, no bankruptcy attorney in 4 hours is going to give you a smidgen of the information that the video course and being online with me or one of my coaches once a month will give you. So much more for the value. This method works whether you have one account or many. I have 8 accounts, whether you're current or delinquent. I put it in parentheses, almost any lender. I have yet to see it not work with a lender. There may be one out there, so I'm going to just kind of, give myself that little disclaimer, but I've yet to see it not work. Single or married, employed or not, lost your job, lost your business after divorce, interest rate hikes, staggering inflation. I had one client, her husband passed away. She was a widow and learned that he'd had credit card debt that she didn't know about, and she was on a fixed income. Oh, what do I do? It works for all of these methods of personal debt. I'll tell you when it doesn't work, if you don't do it. It doesn't work if you don't do it. If you don't attempt a road other than pay, pray, or run away, you are going to be stuck in one of those. And here's the thing about debt. It does not go away on its own. If you go play soccer on Saturday and you sprain your ankle, you could go to the doctor and have the doctor put it in a splint and put an ice pack on it, and that might help it heal faster. But you could also not necessarily go to the doctor and put some ice on it at home, and your sprain will heal on its own in a little while. If you cut your finger a little bit, it's going to heal. There are things in life that will take care of themselves. Your debt will not. Your debt is going to be there, and you have to get through it in some way. It's either pay it off in full at full interest forever for years until it's gone. If you want to know how long it's going to take it, the 2010 Credit Card Act required banks to put on your credit card statement how long it will take you to pay off your debt at the minimum monthly payment and how much it's going to cost you. So go open up your file cabinet, look at your last credit card statement. Right there on the front will be a table that says if you make the minimum monthly payment, it's going to take you 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years to pay off this debt, and the interest will likely be double what your current payment is. That option is going to happen unless you start doing something else. Praying, maybe you're going to win the lottery. Maybe you're going to get a big job. If those things are in front of you, if there's a big bonus you think is coming in, great. Hold on. See if that works. If it does, wonderful. Pay off your debt. If it doesn't, run away. Bankruptcy. Your debt is going to choose for you the route that you take to become debt-free unless you make a choice for yourself. This method is proven to work for those who desire to get out of debt as quickly and economically as possible. And this next part is really important, with as much control as possible. When you use an agency, you have no control. When you use bankruptcy, you have no control. When you pay it off in full on your own, you have the control of writing that check every month, but your bank is dictating The terms, if you want to dictate the terms of how quickly you get out of debt, this method has worked over and over and over as long as you do the work and have the mindset that you can succeed, which I am going to help you do. You are going to save all the time, money, mistakes, and effort that I cost myself. I went through all the pitfalls. It cost me money, time, mistakes. They're in there so that you don't have to. I am shining a light on the dark tunnel of credit card debt. You ever been to a haunted house where you're walking through the dark and there's a little creak and it's scary and some shadow moving and it's scary, and then somebody accidentally turns on the lights and you realize the little creak is just a kid running his fingernails over a chalkboard and the shadow is just a rubber thing hanging on a wall with a light behind it, and suddenly they're not scary anymore. I make it not scary for you because I turn on the light. So go now to debtreductionmadeeasy.com/get started. Enter your name and email to go to the checkout page. Enter that training special 50 at checkout for 50% off. $198 for the video course, but the monthly subscription, $398 for the video course on its own. You will save that money so fast when you go through the process. Learn every secret that your bank and agencies do not want you to know about getting out of credit card debt as quickly as possible and saving as much money as possible. Go now to the website to do that so that you can get yourself out of debt with my help showing you how. And I started off with, you have two choices. The first is keep doing what you've been doing. You can keep paying off your debt in full at full interest for many years. That is an option that is available to you that will keep your credit score high and hopefully not have you suffer financially and struggle and stress and have fear and anxiety through the whole process. But if that's the route you choose, you can't choose it. You can pray to make more money. And I hope it happens. I hope you go win the lottery. I really do. You can run away by hiring bankruptcy or attorney and filing bankruptcy, or turn it over to a debt settlement agency to pay them a lot more money, or do it yourself. But one way, there is no way out of debt through inaction. You must choose, or your circumstances would choose for you. Or the second option is you can take control. You can invest in yourself. You can acquire knowledge that overcomes the fear you have and builds the confidence to use that knowledge and confidence to become debt-free and create your own future. So really my last question for you is, why not try? And I'll tell you the couple of reasons for that people come up with. One is they don't know if this works. They say, what if I get the video course and it doesn't work and now I've spent $398? I give a guarantee, 14-day guarantee. You can get the video course today, buy the video course today, go through it for 2 weeks. And if you don't feel that that video course delivers everything that I am promising on this call, write to me at support@do-it-yourself-bailout.com and I will give you your money back. I'll refund your purchase price. You have no reason not to try because I will refund your purchase price if you watch the videos and feel that they don't deliver everything you have. So what if the videos don't work is not a reason to not give this a try. I make that guarantee because I really want to help you get out of debt. What if the mentoring doesn't work? What if I do a once a month call for $100 and it doesn't work and I've lost that money? This is my offer. I guarantee you that this process will get you at least what any agency will guarantee you. So I guarantee you that if you come to the once a month courses for 2 years, it's a little more than 18 months, but it's never taken that long, believe me, you will get at least one offer from a bank to settle a card for at least 50%, which means at the very minimum for your $2,400, $2,600 investment, you will have an offer for half off a card, which means if your lowest value card is $5,000, at the very minimum, you're going to break even on the $2,500 or $600 investment. You'll get $2,500 off a card without an agency fee. So you'll save all of that money. So I guarantee you at the minimum on the lowest possible card, you will break even, or I will continue working with you for free until you do. But really, this has never happened. You're going to get a 50% offer more than likely in the first 3 to 6 months, and then they're going to go to 60% off and 65% off, and you're going to be saving so much money. But this is my guarantee to you that if you trust me enough to go through the coaching, I guarantee you that the coaching is going to pay off, or I'll keep working with you until it does. So neither of these are excuses. You truly have nothing to lose. I am guaranteeing your investment and your time. You've got nothing to lose except your credit card debt. And nobody's ever asked for their money back because everybody has always gotten the value that I promised. So this is, I'm going to use a little bit of humor here. Help me help you.
I'm really grateful for you, Ken, and I really am. You've been my guide through this process, and at first it was scary, but just having your voice in my head while I'm in these calls is priceless. It really just truly is. And I will tell you that it's worth every single penny. And, because you're doing debt settlement, you can't charge a really large thing because you're getting people out of debt. And it feels like a bit of a labor of love. And it is. And I'm very grateful for it.
I'm so grateful for Nicole for sharing that with me. I started off at the beginning saying, who is this for? Anyone struggling with credit card debt, anyone looking to get out of credit card debt as quickly as possible, save as much money as possible. And I said, if you're not sure, stay, listen, learn, and I would give you a free gift. So if you've listened to all of this, which I really appreciate, and you still want to choose one of the other routes to get out of debt, if you want to keep paying off your balance and keep your credit card score high, I appreciate that road if it's available to you. Or if you want to hire a debt settlement agency to do this for you or file bankruptcy, I support those roads if those are the right road for you. I don't tell everybody you have to do debt settlement. I tell everybody you have to choose the right road for you, but you should be educated to every road to make that choice. And if you know those are the choices you want, I want to thank you for your time and for listening. And I want to offer you the debt negotiation spreadsheet as your free gift. So if you're going to go through these roads, at least you have this tool to help you do your accounting and really figure out what your situation is. So go now to debtreductionmadeeasy.com/free DRME spreadsheet. I'm just going to leave it up there for a couple of seconds. So type that in and go to that website and enter your name and email address, and you will get an immediate download of the debt reduction spreadsheet, which I really hope you use and enjoy and love. And if at any point while you're using and enjoying and loving it, you decide, hey, this really is good, just come on back and you can join the program at debtreductionmadeeasy.com/get started. I can't guarantee the 50% discount will be there forever. It's going to be there for a while, certainly, and you're going to get some follow-up emails to grab it for a while. But if you're pretty sure this isn't for you and you're not signing up today, go ahead to debtreductionmadeeasy.com/free DRME spreadsheet and get your free debt negotiation spreadsheet. If you know this is for you, if you are ready to treat that like a business, if you're ready to let go of the painful emotions of debt, if you're ready to take control of your financial future, go now to debtreductionmadeeasy.com/get started, and your name and email address. Go to the next page, choose the radio button as to whether you want the video course or the video course and once a month coaching. Enter that training special 550 code there in the coupon box. Click apply. You'll see the numbers drop down from where they are, and go ahead and get started today. If you have any questions, anything I haven't covered today, you can write to support at the Do-It-Yourself Bailout.com, and you can start to get more answers from me. And I have a few more minutes today. We've been about an hour and a half, which is how much time I told you you're going to be here. If you're ready to go get started, and I will see you in the monthly coaching. If you have some questions, feel free. I'll stay for a few more minutes and answer your questions, but I really just want to exude a lot of gratitude for you taking the time out of your life to come and be here with me today to learn all this. As Nicole said, this is a labor of love. I love doing this. I love getting letters from people saying, you saved our lives. We had a family because of you. Our marriage was saved because of you. Our business was saved because of you. We did it. It happened the same way. Oh my gosh, I just went through. They wouldn't budge off 75%. Now they're down to 55%. I'm sticking it out for 35%. I love getting those messages from people, and I really want to get them from you. So go to debtreductionmadeeasy.com/get started and get started. Let's see. Here's a question. How much might my credit score fall? Here's what I'll say about that. I think if you're at an 800, probably around 300 points. I just don't want to sugarcoat it. I mean, mine, the lowest went to 508. And one client went to like 492. I've never seen anybody drop like under 400. Does it even go 400? Below 400. I've never seen it. But the question shouldn't be how much might it fall? I mean, if you're thinking you can do this If you have one card that you're in delinquency on for 3 months and you settle, maybe you'll go from 800 to 675. I don't know. But if you're really seriously in debt and you have multiple cards and you're looking to stick this out for 6 or 12 or 18 months to save yourself tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars like I did, your credit score is going to fall probably around 500. But that's not the question to ask. The question to ask is, how much money can I save by using my credit score as a tool in letting it fall, compared to how much money might I save by using my credit score as a tool if I keep it high? The only reason to keep your credit score high is if you want to go take out a loan at a lower interest rate. So what loan are you looking to take out? What lower interest rate do you want? How much money would that 5% instead of 9% or whatever it is for you save you if you kept your credit score high while paying off your debt? And how much money is it going to cost you to pay off your debt to do that? Or run the numbers. How much money will you save by letting your credit score fall? And when it falls, how much will that cost you if you go get a loan at a higher interest rate? The question to ask is, how can being the CEO of the corporation of me save me money if I use my credit score in a different way? Not how much might it fall. It's going to fall. I'm not kidding you. That's going to happen. But if you release yourself of your emotional attachment to your credit score and you recognize the programming that has gone into you being emotionally attached to your credit score, you will empower yourself to use your credit score in a different way. Here's a question. How do I talk to collection agents? That's a bigger question that I have to go into detail about in 12 more minutes, but it's all in there. The scripts are in there. I'll give you a quick example. Like, what I noticed very early on is they always were very nice at the beginning. Hey, Mr. Goldie, how are you doing today? Hey, we see you're behind on your credit card payment. We're here to set up that payment for you today. That was part of the script. They didn't say, would you like to use to make that payment today? Because it's easy for people to say no. They say, we're calling to set up that payment today, which kind of makes people have to stop for a second and go, well, how do I answer that now? Or they'll say, we really want to get you back on regular payments starting now. Would you like to do that? And people were like so the section on negotiation and talking to collection agents is really about showing you the tactics that they're going to use to make you feel like you should do what they say. And when I show that to you, it comes with all of the things that you get to say in response so that you're prepared to talk to them. What is charge off? You've heard about charge off. So charge off, when you go through the process, your banks will use charge off as like an intimidation. Well, you need to get your account settled right now or you're going to go into charge off. They will try to scare you with this notion of charge off. Charge off is just an accounting thing. It just says that after 6 months of an account being delinquent, the bank is going to take that account off their books and put it onto some other collection agent's book so that they're not showing the bad debt anymore. That's all that it is. And it means that you'll be talking to a different collection agent. That's all that it means. But they want to say it as like a scare tactic. You could go into charge off and you don't want that to happen. So you better pay us more money now or get back onto regular payments now. And I go into charge off in detail and actually how you can use coming up against charge off to your advantage. That's all in there. Here's another. What happens if they don't offer the amount that I need them to offer? I think I'm reading that right. Like, you have a certain amount of debt and maybe a certain settlement amount that you see as a reasonable amount that you could pay them, and they don't come down to that. So depends on the amount. Like, if you're targeting a 10% settlement, I'm going to tell you throughout the course that that's really difficult to reach. And it's going to take a lot longer, and you're more likely to either be sued or have your bank completely sell your debt to a debt purchaser. I go into the difference between debt collection agents who work for your bank and outside debt collection agencies who are contracted by your bank, and then debt purchasers who now own your debt and become your new creditor. I go into those differences. And if you're targeting something like 10 or 15%, the chances of going a lot longer and having things get harder is more real. That's why I say 35% is a good reasonable amount to target for in a reasonable amount of time without going through some of the more painful things like a debt purchaser buying your debt. But if you really do have a target number and you go through the process and it's just not met, you can always get back on regular payments or file bankruptcy. Those options are still there. But if you do set your target within the reasonable amount, go through the steps that are there in the course to raise that money over time, the chances are you will likely be able to get to that reasonable amount in a reasonable amount of time. At least that's the experience that I've had. I hope I answered that question. What are the pros and cons to bankruptcy? I talked about this a little. Hire a bankruptcy attorney. Go pay a bankruptcy attorney their initial consultation fee. When I did it 15 years ago, it was $150 for initial consultation. Maybe it's $250 or $350 or $400 now, depending on where you live and what that bankruptcy attorney will tell you. But ask your bankruptcy attorney, what does it mean here in my state, and how does it compare to calling my banks myself to negotiate? They will tell you what it costs to file bankruptcy where you are and what their hourly fee is and how many hours they will work for you prior to going to court and how many hours they might work for you going to court. And you'll get to add up what bankruptcy will cost you and compare that to how much you might pay in your settlement amount to your bank if you go through debt reduction. You go through the numbers but to me, it's always even more so about the keeping the control and going through the emotional process of letting go of the doubt and fear and pain and stress and shame and guilt and anxiety that you get when you go through the process yourself is worth even more than the time savings you have of letting a bankruptcy attorney take care of things for you instead of calling up your bank. Plus, you never have to go to court, so you have a 5 or 10 minute phone call every now and then with somebody, but court's a whole day and maybe multiple whole days. So there are lots of pros and cons that I go through in more detail in that 6 ways to get out of debt video. And you should talk to a bankruptcy attorney and let that person tell you what it is from their perspective as well. Though I'm going to recommend this. Get the video course. You have 2 weeks to look through it. Watch the videos on bankruptcy and getting sued, and then go talk to your bankruptcy attorney. So when you do talk to the bankruptcy attorney, you have a lot more knowledge and questions, and you can look at their answers through the filter of more knowledge than just hearing what they say on face value. Because you always have to look at people's incentives. What is my incentive to teaching you this? I like to feel good when people get out of debt and I make a little bit of money. What is a debt relief agency's incentive in doing this? They want to keep you scared so you'll pay them a lot more money. What is a bankruptcy attorney's incentive in doing this? They want to guide you towards bankruptcy because that's how they make their fees. So they are likely going to talk up the pros of bankruptcy, maybe not blatantly. I don't think that most scrupulous bankruptcy attorneys would try to cheat you or lie to you, but they're going to scare you with what debt settlement looks like a little bit in order to make you feel more confident in their hands because they make their living helping people go to court through bankruptcy. Now, maybe you don't have enough money to pay them and they'll say, I charge more than that. So here's another option, debt settlement. But you should be as informed as possible about all of that so that when you hear what they have to say, you're able to make decisions for yourself from a place of knowledge. Taxes. How does the IRS treat debt settlement? Yeah, so you've heard this. So this is true. The IRS treats debt settlement as income. So if you have $50,000 in debt and you settle at $50,000 for $15,000, they're going to treat that other $35,000 as income because you were loaned the money and didn't pay the money back. So you got the money. So to them, that's income. And then they're going to tax it. And yet people get scared about that. Well, I still have a tax debt. But again, run the numbers. So let's say you're not making a ton of money right now, and that's why you're struggling with your credit card debt. And with that extra $35,000 in income, say you're in the 10% tax bracket, you're going to owe $3,500 in taxes on that $35,000 in settled debt that the IRS treats as income. But if you had that $50,000 in debt and you saved $35,000 in principal and another $50,000 in interest, so you saved $85,000 in principal and interest, and in addition to the $15,000 that you paid to your bank to settle out the $50,000, you pay another $3,500 to the IRS, you're still way ahead. You've paid $18,500 and saved $81,500. I'm doing the math right in my head. So yes, you may have a tax liability, but the tax liability is still far less than you settled in the debt, depending on where your debt is. And there are other IRS rules that may make it that you don't even need to pay that. There's something called an insolvency rule, which means if your debts are more than your assets, they don't apply that rule. I'm not an expert in that. Talk to your accountant in the same way that I'm saying, get the video course and watch it and go talk to your bankruptcy attorney so that you know what to ask your bankruptcy attorney. Get the video course and watch it and go talk to your accountant so you know what to ask your accountant. Say, hey, I watched the video on taxes and Kenny said this and what's true and what's not, and let that person. I do not want to replace your accountant or your bankruptcy attorney. I want you to get the information from me and then go hear the same thing from them and go, oh, Kenny was right. And I can go do this. I get it, but how do I really tell my spouse I'm in that much debt? This is common. I know what it's like. I mean, I had financial troubles when I was married as well. People have financial troubles. Even rich people have financial troubles, partly because they make a lot more money and they have a lot more debt. And sometimes it can be hard if you're the person who's responsible for the finances in your home to go to your spouse and say, hey, things aren't as rosy as we think they are. The thing I want to say again is you're not alone. 1 in 2 people using their credit cards to pay for their utilities. 3 out of 4 people missing credit card payments. You're not alone. And knowing that is very helpful. And ultimately, I always say, the more you let go of the emotion and the shame and the guilt and the fear and the doubt and the stress and start to empower yourself around this, the more able you are to go to the people who you love, whether it's your spouse or your children, if you have grown children, or your parents, and say, hey, this is where I'm at, and let go of the fear of judgment, let go of the fear of retribution or recrimination, and meet them on an even emotional playing field. And when they're emotional about it, when they try to judge, say, hey, look, I'm not looking to get into the emotion of this. This isn't about fear and stress and pain and guilt and shame. This is about how do we get ourselves to the best financial place possible. And when you have gone through the videos and the course on letting go of the emotion, the answer to how do I tell my spouse will become more clear to you. And then this is the part that I get from my clients. I do have a client who was nervous about his wife knowing that he was going through this. And he finally did say, I'm going to go through this. And the wife was a little nervous. But you know what? When he settled out the first $25,000 card for $8,000, the wife went, ooh, maybe this is working. And when he settled out the next $40,000 card for $14,000, the wife said, ooh, how is this working? And then the wife watched the videos and then had fun doing it together. So your success will help, but it starts with not looking for the success to relieve the emotional. It starts with letting go of the emotional, to not be afraid of being honest, and then honestly working through it together. And then you have something to do together. There are a few more questions, but you know what? Write them to support at the doityourselfbailout.com, and I or one of my team will answer them for you. That's all our time for today. Again, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so grateful that you took the time out of your life to come let me share this with you. Go to debtreductionmadeeasy.com/get started and get started. I look forward to seeing you on the monthly calls and hearing how you enjoy the videos and getting your emails telling me how much money you have saved. Go have an amazing day. Thank you so much.